Hi everyone, it's Nicole here from Mama Elephant with a wiper surprise tutorial featuring a couple of interactive cards created with new stamps and dies from both the January and February releases. The wiper surprise dies came out in January, and this first card was part of an Instagram blog hop, and I wanted to share just a couple of different ideas for creating these wiper surprise cards. So I did film this, and I'm going to show both of the card creations in this video tutorial. Now I do want to mention this cloud border that I die cut first was not quite high enough for the wiper surprise, and I leave that in the video because I think it's probably important to add. I think that it needs to go about halfway up the panel. You're going to need 2 of these base panels for each wiper surprise card, because the entire card is created here with these panels. So I'm going to die cut another piece, and then we're going to ink the backgrounds. You could die cut these from pattern papers, cardstock, or both of my cards today I'm actually customizing with stencils to build some scenes. Both actually kind of feature clouds, which was unintentional since they were created about a month apart, but it's just a really great way to create some fun scenes with balloons, which both of these feature. Now, there are lots of different wiper surprise arms. There are 5 different options. You simply have to play around with them to see what you like. Here's the one I'm going to be using today. I did stencil my background, and I must have done this off camera, with cracked pistachio, distress ink, and a My Favorite Things cloud stencil. Then you want to fold these opposite ways. So there's going to be that little Z fold on each side. The background one I like to do over on the right side, and then the layer over on the left. And then I simply inked the edge of the front panel piece with cracked pistachio as well. And before we put this together, if you're going to stamp anything on either the back or the front, I would suggest doing that before you start assembling. In this case, I am stamping a Friendship Sentiments greeting along the bottom edge using a mint ink. And this is from the January release stamp set Friendship Sentiments. Then I'm going to take a nice strong adhesive. I like score tape of some sort, but just make sure it's something strong. Liquid adhesive works as well. And I'm going to place this on each side of my front panel. And I'm going to only adhere, I think, one side first. So a flat edge goes against the edge with a fold. So there's a fold on each side. Now this little crease on the front panel piece that's over on the left, that crease is, or that little second panel, think of it as 3 panels, 1, 2, and 3. On the second panel, that is where the wiper surprise mechanism goes. I'm going to come back to that. I will tell you, I fiddled and fiddled with this. It can be a little tricky. That is one of the reasons I think that the taller or wider that this front panel piece is, the easier time you're going to have. In the coordinating blog post for this project, I am going to link to a photo tutorial that Mama Elephant did showing you each of these little wiper surprise pieces. It's going to give you a good idea of how they all fold. They all are going to be adhered to that second little panel piece on the front, but they all work just a little bit differently as far as where the animal or critter or whatever it might be pops up on your card. These images for my first card were stamped on Bristol Smooth cardstock using VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm coloring them in with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. The colors I'm using are all shown across the top of the screen. Love these elephants. Now the Flying with Friends, which is going to be, I'm trying to think which all ones this is. Well, I can tell you for sure. Let me grab that stamp set. There is, I think I maybe only used one from Flying with Friends, which is part of the January release. That is the elephant that pops up with the mouse on its head, and also then any mice on the card. So there's an individual mouse and then the mouse with the balloon. Those are from Flying with Friends, which is from this January's release. Now, the rest of my elephant guys here, which they all coordinate, which I love that. Last year in 18, sorry, I'm a little bit behind. In 2018, there was a Fly With Me stamp set, and that had the other elephants. So these 3 elephants you see here, all from that stamp set, and that also includes the cute little hair bow. So they mix and match perfectly. You can use any of these critters from both stamp sets. They mix and match. Use them with other stamps you have from your Mama Elephant collection. The sky is the limit. I will link to additional cards created with these stamp sets at the end of this video if you want to have more ideas for these cute little elephants. When coloring with zigs, my preferred way of coloring is laying down the dark color first, blending out with the light color, and then cleaning off the tip of my marker on a scrap piece of paper, or you can see I'm cleaning it off on the edge of the paper so that I'm not transferring a dark color or a completely different color to other areas of the design. Blending, just keep on blending these out. I definitely went the pastel route. My next card is going to go the more primary colors route. So while this still kind of covers the colors of the rainbow, or contains all the colors of the rainbow, with pinks and the yellow, orange, greens, aquas, blues, and purple, my next card is going to have more primary, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, things like that. But with the mint background, I purposely went with this kind of color combination. I love mint clouds. Little unexpected. You'll see with the next Wiper Surprise card, I went a little more traditional with the blue sky and the green grass and things like that. Now, once my images are die cut, if your image is going to be hanging off of one of these scored folded lines, only adhere that image where it's touching something that's folding. So see, the mouse is hanging off that crease. I'm only securing the mouse on that one side. I'm not putting adhesive on the left side of the mouse. It's perfectly fine for some of them to stick above that front little panel piece. In fact, this little elephant girl here, she is slightly above the cloud line. Now let's open this up. I want to show you the Wiper Surprise. This is where it attaches. I highly recommend adhering this with liquid adhesive. The reason is you are not going to have to worry this is going to go anywhere. I use some tweezers to hold this in place until the glue is dry. Because it's an interactive element, it could, with a tape runner, glue dots, score tape, whatever it might be, it could eventually kind of fail on you or get caught. Liquid adhesive, while it's kind of messier, it's part of the reason I don't necessarily use it as much. I do think for this kind of a card, so great because it's going to stay put. So once you have it where you want it to go, make sure that you secure that with your adhesive, and then you can tuck your critter onto that tab however you want. You can see in my card, he's sitting up higher than what I actually ended up having him sit. You can trim that tab if you want to, although I will tell you I had trimmed up my tabs before and I didn't really like it. What I really like to do is ink up that tab part that's going to show with the color of the background. So in this case, cracked pistachio. And I will just kind of color that tab that might stick up above, because part of it's going to. with that color ink, and then I just pop whatever critter on top. You're going to see that, I think, more in the next video, or not next video, in the next project, because the little chicks are so much smaller. Now, this guy, I had to put him down a little lower because he was getting caught. He was too tall. That's another thing. You kind of have to fiddle and play and move. So you're seeing a lot of my missteps along the way. And I kept this in, and I kept this in first because I think it's kind of important to show. This really is a little bit tricky. The second time I made a card, I literally put it together just like that. It took no time at all because I had already done one and already messed around with it and played with it, and it worked so much easier. So I'm going to tell you right now that I simply tucked my elephant down a little bit lower, and that is going to make this work so much easier. So now that my wiper surprise is all together, while it's flat, I am going to, and by flat I mean it's unfolded, because you can put it in your envelope folded, which I will show you here in a bit too. I'm going to add some embellishment. So I've got some little acrylic hearts. I went over the eyes with a black pen. If you wanted to add glossy accents or glitter pen or whatever it might be, this would be the time to do it. Leave it laying flat, get all of that done, and then when everything is completely dry, you can fold your card up, write a little message somewhere if you wanted to, or write it on the back of your card and pop it in your envelope, and you can mail this to whomever it is going to. You will also notice I customized that pink balloon with Love You with pink ink, and that just ties into the friendship sentiment down below. These elephants are probably one of my all-time favorites. So here is a look at the finished card. The glue is all dry. When you fold it down, the elephant with the balloon and the mouse disappear. When you pull the two sides out, he pops up. How adorable is that? So much fun, so cute. I think anyone would love getting this little cutie in the mail. So now I am going to share another Wiper Surprise card with you using stamps from the February 2019 release. This is the Little Chickie Agenda, the latest in the Little Agenda line from Mama Elephant. And this is going to be a birthday themed card. We're going to create a scene card using these cuties. So just like before, I'm going to start with my background. You can see the score lines. I'm actually going to leave the stenciling part in the video today so you can see the creation there from building the background. You could also, again, use pattern paper or solid paper if you wanted to and eliminate the stenciling altogether. Save a little bit of time. This is Mermaid Lagoon Distress ink used with the Mini Cloud Edges stencil from My Favorite Things. And we're going to build this cloud background. Now, instead of having a complete cloudy background like we saw on the first card, this is going to have the blue sky, and in the forefront, the front panel of our Wiper Surprise, this is going to be the ground. So I'm going to do a green grass ground across the bottom edge, again using the Landscape Trio dies. These are one of the first die collections from Mama Elephant. I still use them all the time. 2 landscape dies, and then I believe, yes, the cloudy border. So really, really awesome. I did flip my landscape. I will tell you, I didn't use it with the stitched edge. I just used it with the smooth edge. Now this time, those score lines are on the left, the background, the sky, they're on the right. And to give some more texture to my ground, I'm using the My Favorite Things Drifts and Hills stencil with Mowed Lawn Distress ink to add that grassy border along the front. With these teeny tiny little images, the Little Agenda, it says it in the name, they're little. So I think it's a great way to just kind of make the scene look scaled a little bit more the right size for these images. I will spritz this with water from a distress sprayer when I'm done stenciling, or pardon me, inking, to give it a little bit of a distressed look. Not a lot, just a little bit. I want to make sure the whole thing is green. One of the things that I did very much like the first card is we're going to stamp a greeting on this with the same color of ink that we stenciled, or pretty close to it. So I'm going to grab a dye ink rather than a distress ink to do my stamping so it's a little bit more crisp, just like I did for the last card. In this case, I'm using Fawn Jalapeno ink, and we'll stamp a birthday sentiment from the Birthday Wishes stamp set along that bottom edge. I'm going to do a little cleanup here while I'm letting my border dry. Let that ink dry a little bit. Here I'm spritzing it with the water from the distress sprayer, as I mentioned. And I like to make sure my work surface is clean, so I'm not transferring the ink to the back of our card base. So here is what our card base looks like with the two panels. I have not scored or folded them yet. It's a little bit easier to stamp them before you do any of those steps. So here I'm going to use my MINTY and stamp that Birthday Wishes greeting with the jalapeno ink. I like the MINTY or stamp positioner tool, so if there's any light areas in your stamping, which there was on this, I had to stamp it a couple times, I don't ruin the whole piece, number one, and number two, I'm able to just re-ink and stamp it right in that same place very, very easily. And there is the front little panel. I will be adding another little piece above this, another sentiment. But let's go ahead and score our background. Nice little Z fold. And we just want to fold the other piece the opposite way. I use a bone folder to get a nice score. And there's what our card base is going to look like. So there is the card base. Here is the pop-up, the wiper surprise I'm going to use. This is more of a basic one than from the last card. Just like the last one, however, you're going to want to adhere it on that middle piece. Now, I did use tape adhesive on this one, and I do think it worked okay, but I like the liquid adhesive better. I was trying it out. I wanted to see how I thought it would hold up. We want a piece of adhesive on the ends on each. And then we're just going to go ahead and pop our wiper surprise right here. And you can have it stick up as high as you want. You just want to make sure that front panel piece is tall enough to hide whatever you have put on the wiper. Now the wiper is quite a bit wider. It's as wide as that second panel, or that second little scored area. In this case, those little chicks, there's no way they're going to cover up the whole thing. Even the elephants didn't really cover up the whole thing. To hide that, I'm going to ink it with the Mermaid Lagoon Distress ink, and that will disguise the tab when it pops up and displays the cute little chick that I'm going to be putting on this tab. So I assembled this whole card base first. I'm going to come back in and add all of the little chicks. As I mentioned, after putting one together, I felt a lot more comfortable with the second one. Let's go ahead and finish our sentiment. In this case, we're using an occasional label that says Happy Birthday. I love this occasional labels stamp set. We're going to stamp this with jalapeno ink, just like we did for the rest of the greeting, but we stamped this on white cardstock. We're going to trim this out. I originally kind of thought I would stamp it, or pardon me, trim it with a trimmer, but I didn't get it stamped straight on. So I'm going to take some scissors and trim this out instead. And then I will use a little thin piece of 1/4 inch score tape to pop this right above the rest of my greeting. So it's all kind of centered and stacked one on top of another. Try to get that as even. I just eyeballed it. And that's where that's going to go. And I laid out the chicks and the other images I thought I was going to use. In addition to the little chick agenda, and I am using 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I used a bunch. Want to make sure I counted right. I think I used 10 chicks from the stamp set on my card today. So we've got 10 plus we're going to use a balloon greeting from the Celebration Balloons stamp set paired with them. I love this stamp set. It's sized perfectly to work with any little agenda images really, and it's just a great little addition to this design. I'm going to color in all of my images with Copic markers today. They were stamped with Intense Black ink from Hero Arts, which is a great ink for Copic coloring. It's not going to bleed. And then I'm going to color them all in the same. So I will show you coloring in a couple of chicks, and then I'll do the rest off camera because they all are colored with Y11, 8, 17, R30, and then YR4 for the beaks. Anything red is going to be R35 and R37. That includes little hearts on this image, the heart the little girl's holding, the heart on the envelope, the red P in the balloon, the red heart balloon. All of those are in those color combinations. Oranges, YR01 and YR04. That's the A in party. I don't know that I use that anywhere else. That's probably it. Go back to Y11 and 8, maybe even a little Y17 for the R. As I mentioned from the first card in the video, I wanted this to be very primary colors for rainbow color. Then some greens with YG21, 23, 17. My blues are B01, 2, and 4. And then I will color in some other areas with some of these same colors. I went back and added some red to a couple of areas. That's R35 and R37. The green tip of the paintbrush that this one's holding, I wanted it to be green to match the sentiments. He's standing next to the sentiments, almost like he painted them. Anything that's blue is going to be B01, 2, or 4, or some combination of that. Little E30 and 31 for the paintbrush and the cake. Our 35 and 37 again. We're coming back to those colors. Our 21 and 22 is a peachy pinky color. I felt like a couple of things needed a little bit different color. The icing on the cake and the star on the hat just pulled in a little bit lighter as far as the red or pink color combination goes. And then some cool grays for the megaphone. This little guy with the megaphone is going to be the guy who pops up, almost like he's popping up to announce happy birthday. Then of course we're going to die cut all of these guys with the coordinating Little Chick Agenda and Celebration Balloons dies. Now I adhered the occasional label. I'm going to start adhering all of these little pieces. I did adhere these with liquid adhesive. I'm using the Lawn Fawn glue tube and I'm gluing these down. Something I've noticed when I use glue dots, sometimes if they get caught with an envelope or another piece of paper, or you're stacking a whole bunch of cards together that you've made, paper can get stuck underneath them and move them around, and I'm forever re-gluing things. Once I was pretty sure, and I did take a photograph of the layout with my phone before I stamped and colored these, so I kind of knew where everything was going to go. I went ahead and just glued them in place. I felt a lot more comfortable using liquid glue, so I didn't have to worry about these guys maybe trying to migrate somewhere else. The little girl with the hat and the heart, she moved around a lot. I could not figure out where I wanted to put her. And I did come back and stamp one more chick because I felt like the left side of the card was a little sparse and I felt like it needed something else, and I'm going to kind of tuck him in the crease along the bottom edge. Now for the party balloons, there are balloon strings in the Celebration Balloons stamp set, but I didn't want to stamp them. I didn't want to take the time trying to line them up. I'm going to grab a ruler. I'm going to grab a black fine tip pen, and we're simply just going to draw those balloon string lines in with our fine tip black pen. So from each of the little balloon end in the word party down to the chick's hand that's kind of flying in the sky with this group of party balloons, I am drawing this little black line. I'm going to come back up at the top and finish it off to look like they are tied around the end of each. We're going to take a black glaze pen and go over all the eyes on the chicks. Make sure they really pop and they show up really nice. This is also going to be the time if you want to add anything liquid. Do that now so you can lay this flat to dry completely. I went in with a white pen, added highlights, especially to balloons, added little white dots to cheeks, anything like that. I went ahead and did that right now. I'm going to take glossy accents and add it to any of the balloons, so the party balloons, the heart and the star balloons that the one chick is flying up in the air with, the beaks on all of the chicks will also have glossy accents. And then the cute little chick that looks like Chicken Little, over on the left side holding the book, he has glasses. We're going to put glossy accents on those as well. And I'm going to lay this flat. Glossy accents doesn't take that long to dry. Just lay it flat, let it dry completely. And that's really going to finish off this card. So here is a look at the finished design. When you pull the sides out, that little guy with the megaphone pops up. I'm going to give you an idea of how it will come in the envelope. So it folds down, fits perfectly in an A2 sized envelope. When you pull it out, then it pops up. So much fun. I hope this has inspired you and given you some ideas for using the Wiper Surprise dies from Mama Elephant. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and we'll catch you next time.